there are two other gentlemen, a little past their prime, in my opinion. Two, I'm talking about Don Lemon and Cenk Uygur. And guys, I almost never watch YouTubers or YouTube videos that are about the Vanguard. More power to you for making them. I just don't ever click on them and watch them because I don't want to go crazy like Cenk is. But I watched one of them the other day because it was like Don Lemon and Cenk Uygur call out the Vanguard, and I was like, "What? That's crazy! Did that happen?" Not quite as juicy as it might appear on the surface, but I wanted to get Gavin's take and see if it was clear to him as it was to me that they were subtweeting us, the cheeky bastards. Okay, they didn't have the balls, the stones, to call us silly and Billy on this broadcast, but we'll see.
This was actually a pretty interesting discussion. Shout out to Don Lemon. Shout out to Don Lemon. Never thought I would say it, but he held Cenk to account in this conversation in a pretty persuasive way, I would say. I watched the whole thing. It was honestly better than Brian Tyler Cohen. It was better than David Pakman. It was a pretty good conversation. I think that Don Lemon held his ground. He didn't let Cenk gaslight. He didn't let Cenk strawman as much as we've seen from a few other people, like I mentioned. I think he actually did a pretty good job pointing out the hypocrisies in what Cenk is doing and, kind of forcing him to really explain what's going on. Obviously, there were some moments where, they had a decently charitable conversation. I'm not saying it was all angry or anything like that, but I still thought it was a really well done discussion for the most part. And yeah, I'm excited to take a look at this part where we kind of get subtweeted, as you said, Zach.
Yeah, and before we get into that, Gavin, one of the portions of this conversation that I wanted to get your perspective on was when they talk about Piers Morgan. And Don Lemon goes in and talks about how he doesn't actually enjoy the panel thing. He hates shouting over people. He doesn't think it's productive. He doesn't think it gets anywhere. And on one hand, I totally agree with him. I don't think you're very likely to change any of the other debaters' minds on a panel setting like that. I don't think that even if you did catch them in a place where they felt like, oh my God, my pants are down or I'm backed into a corner, they would just lash out and freak out. They wouldn't accept that they'd gotten something wrong and do any reflection about it, because then it would be humiliating for them. So it's a perverse incentive. However, from Piers Morgan's perspective, it's a genius thing to do, because it's great content for everyone. It's really cheap and easy to produce. People love watching it. They can't get enough of it. Guys like Cenk Uygur are tremendous guests because he is an attack dog. It's the one really stellar thing about Cenk as a broadcaster. It's that he can get in your face. He can rant. He can be lively and aggressive and confrontational. But I don't think he's changed very many people's minds on Piers Morgan. I don't think very many guests have had their minds changed on Piers Morgan's show. So what are your thoughts on that, given that it's such great content, but it's also not that productive?
Weirdly, what's mostly unproductive about it, in my opinion, is the fact that Cenk doesn't seem to actually gain any popularity. He doesn't seem to gain any new subscribers when he does appear on that show, even as often as he does. He goes on there all the time, and it's not like TYT ever gains any followers or attention because of it. It is like they really just trot him out there like a circus freak to blow up, to get angry, to go crazy, because it's so predictable that he's going to do that. But again, I don't know if anyone actually likes it. It seems like everyone, at least that watches that show, just kind of views it as a spectacle, and none of them actually follow him back to the Young Turks. None of them actually, gain some sort of respect for the guy, even though he's constantly on that panel. Like I said, it's kind of bizarre. I do agree with you, though, that Piers Morgan's show, while it's not necessarily the most productive, I do enjoy it. And I think that what I like about it is that you have some cable news vibes, right? With the crazy, like, Jerry Springer conflict-driven nature of the show, right? That's admittedly what it's all about. It's all about the drama, much like the Vanguard. But what I like about Piers Morgan is that they will invite on genuinely anti-establishment people from the fringes of both sides. It's not like CNN, where you're only going to see people within the Overton window, where like Nina Turner is the furthest person to the left you're ever going to see on that show. No, Piers Morgan, they'll bring on anyone and everyone, from the deepest, darkest corners of the internet. Sometimes they'll have freaking like Holocaust deniers on there and shit. But then they'll also have like some base left-wing YouTuber that doesn't get enough attention and, finally gets a platform because of something like that. So I have mixed feelings on Piers Morgan. I think he's personally pretty annoying. I also do think, though, that he is a good interviewer when he wants to be, when he's not just trying to needle people and get conflict out of the situation. Like, I do think he's talented. And if you watch his recent interview with Graham Hancock, I think you'll see what I'm talking about. I thought that was a pretty masterfully done interview.
Oh, yeah. He's actually a great interview. Like you said, I don't know if you ever watched them, but maybe a year and a half ago when we first started getting into reacting to Piers Morgan content, I watched him interview a bunch of famous serial killers on Peacock, and it was just like, oh, he's sitting across from a guy who did.
I would watch that.
He'll be like, "You've killed all these people, and don't you have any remorse for that? You should.
Fuck no.
You've cut them all up into pieces, is what you've done, and now you've got to spend your whole life in the cement blocks. Now, wasn't that going through your mind when you was thinking about doing that to all these poor people? I mean, that's somebody's dear old mum, you know. And it's
Was it worth it?
well, and did you know? And then they'll be like, I wasn't able to control myself, and he'll be like, you didn't feel you had any other option. It's just crazy the way that he goes in here and he interviews these people who are like maniacs. Anyway,
Do you condemn what you did
Yeah.
20 years ago? Do you condemn it?
yeah, from inside here, I'm meant to understand. You've got access to the newspaper. Do you condemn him as? Yeah, even the serial killers. Did you know students on college campuses? The cheerleading for this, you know.
Yeah. Either way, shout out to Piers, but yeah, let's get into a little bit of this, Zach. Let's watch Don Lemon take on Cenk Uygur.
The other thing that I don't like is I think that some of the folks who are coming after you, who are criticizing you, and I told you this, I don't like it because I think it's vicious and it's cruel, and I see them trying to steal your subscribers and to steal your members, and it just seems very targeted to me, as if they want to cancel you. I don't think that you should be canceled. I think that you should be criticized.
Bro, you've been on YouTube for 5 minutes for one. And in case you needed us to spell it out for you with big old block letters, of course I'm trying to steal your audience, Cenk. What the heck? I don't want people listening to your boomer bullshit all the time. I don't want people to think that homeless people are responsible for the fires in Los Angeles. I want to tell people real, progressive, political messaging, and I want to tell people who the frauds are, and that is why I'm making a lot of content about you, because you are the fraud of the century if we're looking at progressive independent media.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like I said, Don actually does do a pretty good job holding Cenk to account in this interview. We started at 37 minutes in, so he's kind of like, you know, being nice at this point. It's like, isn't it outrageous? Don't you condemn these haters or whatever? I don't know why I went back to Piers Morgan for a second, but
It was good.
Either way, you know, this is interesting, and it kind of harkens back to this point that Cenk keeps making actually about Sam Seder also, right? In his attempt to smear Sam Seder as a grifter, he'll refer back to this moment from 5 or so years ago, I guess, where Sam Seder told Cenk that, yeah, he's trying to you know, make videos about Jimmy Dore so that he can actually steal Jimmy Dore's audience. And Cenk will point to that as proof that Sam Seder is a grifter. He's like, yeah, Sam told me. He told me he's putting Jimmy Dore's name in the title of his videos so that people who watch Jimmy Dore will also see his videos. And then they'll have to watch Sam debunk Jimmy's bullshit, right? And Cenk was like outraged by that apparently, which is crazy because he was a huge hater of Jimmy Dore himself not that long ago. But that's basically what we're doing. And it's no different from what Michael Brooks and Sam Seder did with Dave Rubin. It's no different from what Anna Kasparian did with Dave Rubin on the Young Turks when she made video after video after video documenting his right-wing de-evolution. That's what's going on. You know, that's what's going on. So sorry that you guys have provided us with the spiciest, best thing to talk about lately. But we also spent several months documenting the downfall of Jimmy Dore back when he was really first, you know, going off the deep end and really making it obvious where his intentions were. We also spent months and months lampooning him, making video after video after video. So that's just kind of the way it goes.
Yeah, I appreciate that you took the time to give Don his flowers. You know, I totally agree. He did the best he could with his limited skill set. You know what I mean? I think the reality is when it comes to understanding YouTube, he's just a little past his prime. You know, I just don't think I just think in this, you know, tech age, Gavin, I just think, you know, once you age to a certain point, you know, you can't keep up with the young whippersnappers just like you used to.
I mean, it is pretty funny. This guy was not that long ago one of the main CNN hosts. Like throughout our entire K through 12 education, he was one of the top CNN people.
And honestly, one of the more likable ones. I keep going back to the same well with his you know, past his prime joke, but he did also get drunk on New Year's.
Exactly. I never really had much of an issue with the guy, but you know, he definitely was one of these mainstream establishment CNN people. Now, you know, he has a YouTube show that's pretty successful, but he'll go live for the same amount of people that Vosh goes lives for. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has the same amount of subscribers as a dude like Vosh. So it's pretty funny. Like, once you strip away that veneer And Vosh gets a lot of live viewers. That's like not a bad thing. I'm talking about like 6 to 9K live viewers peak. And that's what Don Lemon is doing, which again is not bad for YouTube. But it is a pretty big fall from, prime time cable television in studio with makeup on and lights and everything. I mean, he just looks like a dude in his house like us now.
Yeah, I wonder how much do you think people like him care about the prestige element of it? Because cable TV has all of the prestige, right? But DIY, hosting your own show, it has all the agency, and also it's where you can actually reach a real audience. You know what I mean? I feel like if you're watching CNN, a lot of people are just doing it because it's on in the background. How many people are watching CNN to actually sit and focus? You know what I mean? Think about that.
Nobody.
Right.
Unless it's like literally like the morning of or the day of January 6th and you're like, what the hell is happening? I need to be educated. Like I need to be informed. But on any normal day, fuck no.
So I bet that 7,000, 8,000 viewers when he's having it, a good night or a good afternoon. I don't know when Don Lemon goes live. He's probably got more eyeballs that are actively watching him and paying exclusive attention to him. You know what I mean?
When he's on YouTube?
When he's on YouTube. So it is more valuable per viewer to be on YouTube for sure. But prestige-wise, nobody really cares. You know what I mean? Like he might end up making the same amount of money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know about money. I'm sure they were paying him pretty handsomely.
Let me find out how much Don Lemon got paid. Yeah,
he was probably getting paid fat at CNN. But I see your point. I mean, I'd rather be on
never mind. He was making bands at CNN.
Yeah, for sure.
4 million.
I would rather be working in independent media than cable media because I care more about relevance than prestige and money. But if you've been brought up in that prestige and money thing, and then all of a sudden it probably would seem like a downgrade to go to like what is this 720? This looks like shit.
It's a Zoom call. It's a glorified Zoom call.
That's what I'm saying. Our show looks like, unironically, in my opinion, at least, a little bit better than this. Like, I think that, when I was trying to get screenshots, I was like, God, these are all blurry. Like, they can't even get a fucking HD webcam. What the fuck is happening here?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I don't mean to be too hard on Don because even though he hates our show, apparently, we can keep listening.
Oh, I'd actually love to get Don Lemon on this show. I'd fucking talk to the guy.
Oh, I would definitely talk to the guy for sure.
But yeah, and do we want to get to some of the spicier stuff? I don't remember if that's in the section before this or if they keep debating after this point in the discussion. But either way, I'm down to watch some more of it.
Yeah, let's let it play for like 30 more seconds and make sure we don't miss anything, and then we can go back to the more debate heavy portion.
All of us, even me. But I don't believe in canceling people or trying to steal their subscribers or really just going after them ruthlessly day after day after day. Have you noticed that? And how do you feel about it?
Yeah, look, I'm a little bit more zen about it because over 20 years that we've been online, I'm not sure that there's a lot of people who've been criticized more than me in the history of the internet. So that's Tuesday to me. And we've been in a lot of these battles already, Don. So when people look at this snapshot of time, they go, oh, you're in this battle with this left winger and that host and blah, blah, blah. And oh my God, is Young Turks. Like the thing that I've heard 100 times in my life is Young Turks is going down. Young Turks is going down. Yet here we are, and our competition is a graveyard. So a lot of these guys are headed straight towards.
Bro, you're not competing with anyone now. He's talking about CNN. When he says our competition is a graveyard, he's talking about MSNBC. Nobody thinks of you when they think of MSNBC or CNN. Okay, you're not even on their radar. You're not even close. You don't even count.
Do you think that's what he's talking about?
Yes, dude. I genuinely think that's what he's talking about. When he says this, I guarantee you, he is projecting himself alongside the MSNBCs and the CNNs.
I almost figured that he was like taking a shot at people that have criticized him, like Ben Dixon, for example, or Francesca, and saying like, oh, they don't, their numbers aren't as good as our numbers. Like anyone who's criticizing us is just in the graveyard or something. But maybe he's talking about cable.
Oh, it would be even lower to me if he was trying to take pot shots at people like that. I assumed that him and Don Lemon were both kind of ganging up on the fact that, CNN and MSNBC are, just absolutely imploding right now. Guys, no wonder they're imploding. It blew my mind. I knew that they were paying Don Lemon handsomely. I knew that he was, a guy that was on CNN for a long time. I figured he was getting like $1 million a year. I figured he would get like how
much was it?
$4 million a year. They signed him to a 3-year, $12 million contract before he got
insane.
fired. That's what I mean. I mean, it is unfair because I remember, people like Vosh. I know they've said like Vosh has said that he makes like $1 million a year, and so I figured, that would be something comparable for Don Lemon if he does do Vosh numbers for that long.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, no, dude, it's real. I mean, it's almost impossible to make $4 million bucks.
Well, a lot of it too is because CNN is it's baked into a lot of these cable packages and a lot of the smart TV packages and stuff like that, YouTube TV, all that kind of thing. So he probably got a chip of that every time there was one of those deals made, kind of like residuals with TV and film.
That's how Howard Stern got rich. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I'm sure it's more than just like, here's your salary for the show you do. It's also probably his investment in being part of the network brand, or at least at the time, because he was one of their main personalities, like along with Anderson Cooper and the likes. It's kind of crazy.
Wolf
like I said,
Blitzer.
how far he's fallen. But that's the thing, when you're removed from that prestige, from the cameras and the lights and the makeup and all that stuff, and now you're just on YouTube, like I said, you're just anyone else and no one cares anymore. I mean, obviously he has a bit of a head start on just your average person who's trying to make it on YouTube, but no one really cares that much about Don Lemon anymore. It's not like he actually sets the tone or controls the discourse. He's really a legacy guy in a new world trying to make it.
Yeah.
Towards that graveyard. Why? Because they're doing a scam. They're doing like a little thing where they're like, "Oh, I'm the most left. I'm the most pure. Everybody else in the hot seat."
I hate the purity test. I hate the purity test. I hate the canceling.
And that has a limited shelf life. So for a while, it gets people riled up and passionate, and they tell them, "Oh yeah, these guys are selling out for money," even though there's no evidence of that. They tell them, "Oh my God."
You literally are taking money from Polymarket Studios, which is a cryptocurrency-backed site that is illegal to participate on in the United States of America. That's selling out, bro, no matter how you dice it.
They're turning right wing, even though there's no evidence of that. And then after a while, the audience goes, "Wait a minute, none of the things they said turn out to be true." Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so the reason we keep winning after year after year after year.
Oh yeah, then how come channels like ours keep gaining subscribers and channels like the Young Turks keep losing them? I don't know. I'm waiting for our audience to realize they've been duped, Zach. Any day I'm terrified of waking up and see that half our subscribers have left because they all simultaneously realized, oh shit, we got conned by Zach and Gavin. Damn it,
two-wood them.
Yeah, exactly. We hawk two-wood them all. So stupid. And again, yeah, I mean, he's right to an extent about the limited shelf life thing. Obviously, no, we're not only exclusively going to be talking about the fucking Young Turks drama for the rest of our channel's history. That's kind of that's what I keep explaining. That's how this thing goes, guys. That's how the model of at least our channel works. Zach, do you remember for a couple months when all we talked about was the Hills Rising? When Crystal and Sagar left the Hills Rising and it totally imploded, they started breaking points. Some of our biggest clips on the Vanguard channel for the longest time were about the implosion of the Hills Rising. And again, about Crystal and Sagar leaving, the Hills' pathetic attempts to, replace them and to recreate the show in their absence. That was our beat for like 3 months, guys. Because why? It was the biggest, most exciting, juicy, dramatic thing to talk about in the space at the time as critics of left-wing media, right? That's our fucking beat.
And we did succeed in helping destroy this fucking channel, just to piggyback onto Gavin's thing. I mean, when they started going crazy, they are seeing it. This is an extreme surge for them. I want everybody to know this is them doing really well because of the new Trump era. A video with 78K, 64K, that was downright, that was a crazy anomaly. Okay. So anyway, this is a major news outlet. This would be like if I'm trying to think of like Politico was putting out content like that. It's embarrassing, humiliating. Also, the content has been much lower quality, much lower production value since even Brianna Joy Gray left. They've gone through a lot of hosts trying to make up for Crystal and Sagar leaving and starting breaking points and eating their entire lunch and leaving them no crumbs. They've never been able to do it, but it seems like now they've started to really cheapen the product and they're leaving Robbie with like nothing.
Oh, 100%. Even the audio quality is like falling off a cliff. Go watch just 5 seconds of a recent Rising video, guys. The audio is embarrassing. I can't believe that they haven't fixed that yet. It's crazy. And also, shout out to you, Oddly Magical Brandy. A lot of people have said this as well. And again, we're not the only people calling out TYT. We're not the only critics of the Young Turks. Obviously, this is our show. That's why we're talking about our coverage. But Oddly Magical Brandy says, I found the Vanguard because of the change I saw in TYT, not the other way around. Again, people wouldn't watch our content. They wouldn't agree with us if they didn't, feel in their hearts that what we were saying was true. If they didn't already, come to that conclusion themselves in some way. Most people decided that, what's going on here? What's happening? That this seems different. It seems like they're going in a reactionary direction. Therefore, our content and our criticisms resonated with those people. That's what's going on. And Cenk has no respect for his audience. That's the thing that I find the most disgusting about this. Cenk has no respect for his audience. He thinks that they can just be easily tricked and programmed by random idiots on this platform. No, they're independent-minded people that agree with us because they came to the same conclusion as us, not because they're being fucking programmed by us. We're not their puppeteer.
100%. We can keep playing this for a little bit longer because I think there's a tad bit more.
It's because we earn people's trust. And at the end, they go, oh my God, he was right about that. He was, I called Bernie having a shot at beating Hillary in 2013. That's online. You can see it.
Bullshit.
So there's a series of these things that we've said where people say
that's actually totally fucking bullshit. I remember when Bernie Sanders first announced his run for president, Cenk said there's no way he's gonna win. Like I specifically remember that. Obviously eventually he came around to it, but at first when Bernie Sanders announced his fucking candidacy, Cenk said no, this ain't going anywhere. I like Bernie, but he doesn't have a chance in hell at winning. So that's just a straight up fucking lie. I was watching TYT at the time. I remember that.
Yeah, the other thing I can tell you, I wasn't watching TYT at that time. I'm unaware of whether or not that's true or not. Obviously, I believe Gavin. But he also was very quick to both sides the Elizabeth Warren thing. If you remember, in the build-up, it was October of the earliest portion of that primary. Elizabeth Warren's polling was peaking, and guys, she was actually doing better than Bernie Sanders in some polls. It was absolutely crazy. And then
the heart attack thing.
Yeah, he had the heart attack. She then put forth this bill that was like not going to raise your taxes by a dime and still give everybody kind of Medicare for all, but not really Medicare for all. And it was a disaster. And it really was like one of the first albatrosses of her campaign. One of the first bad decisions. Anyway, before that, there was let's say 6-week period where a lot of people were saying, don't get discouraged if it's Elizabeth Warren. She's really good too. The snake herself. One of those cheerleaders was Cenk Uygur.
Yep, 100%. He was like, he was basically saying they're both just as good, and that progressives should be just as excited about Warren as Bernie, which obviously was not true. But yeah, do you want to watch some more of this, or do you want to move on, Zach?
Oh, we can move on to the next topic for sure. Cool. I just wanted to get everybody's attention. It's been a big week for clout for the Vanguard. We've got Don Lemon watching our videos. We've got Anthony Fantano, the Melon, chatting about the substance with us because, wow, we have such sophisticated film taste.
Or such dog shit takes. That's why he had to weigh in finally. He was like, what the fuck are you guys talking
we had
about?
to explain it to him, Gavin. We had to, he's the music guy. You're the film guy. I am the liaison between the two of you. Wow. We're like salt,
that's
pepper,
actually a good
cumin.
point. You do know a lot more about music than I do.
I don't know about more about music. I just meant like I was the everyman.
I think you do, actually. You know a fuck ton about music.
I got really into music in high school. Here's the thing about me. I can never tell anybody I know a lot about music because I cannot play music for a lick. I don't know any of the chord structures or anything else. I just happen to have really strong opinions about my own taste. Whereas like with a movie, I can tell you what's going on so much better. Like I can, be like, oh, I didn't like the way they did this or this stylized thing. Anyway, you know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway.
Exactly. But either way, yeah. And I do want to reiterate, despite the fact that what we showed you guys of that interview made it look like Don Lemon was like defending Cenk the whole time. He was like, I can't stand seeing you get canceled by haters online and all this kind of crap. I will reiterate that that's not representative of the majority of this exchange. Not that I have any interest in, protecting or defending Don Lemon of all people, but, just to be honest and clear. And if you guys watch the full video, which I do recommend, he does a decent job. He actually does a decent job pushing back on Cenk, bringing receipts, showing, trying to actually force Cenk to explain what he's doing and calling him out where necessary. So I think he did a decent job, although I obviously disagree with his pearl clutching over our attempts, our valiant attempts to cancel him. He should be thanking us, right? You're welcome, guys. We're trying our best over here to cancel the Young Turks.
Yeah, absolutely. Don, come over here. Plead your case. Tell us to stop. Beg for Cenk's life. I'm kidding. We'd have a lovely conversation with you. Anyway, hey, man, do you know Carl Azus? Yeah, that was my man when I was in 7th grade.